Here's our tutorial number 2 for After Effects, doing a simple green screen, and for this we will be using our headshots as our example of how to do it. Okay, the first thing we'll want to do is, for especially headshots, you want to create a individual composition for every player. This will enable you to keep the names, and then when you put it all together, you can use the compositions rather than having to integrate all of them into a timeline. So once we have our player there, what we need to do is then get right on with the effects. For all the headshots and all green screen, first thing you're going to want to do is simple color keying. This is a lot faster of an algorithm than the later green screen effect we use. And then you want to use this to select the color. You're going to want to go usually in the darkest green you can find. You select it and then you bring the tolerance up. 15 is usually the highest you want to go. 20 being the absolute worst. You don't want to get too high, otherwise you'll notice it'll start to eat away at him. This will be fixed later, but you'll still want to try to avoid it if at all possible. And then, once again, you want to keep selecting so that you get all the in-between colors. You can also click on them, shift-click to select multiple, copy, which is Control-C, Control-V, or you can get it in the Edit page, which this will help you go a little bit faster so that you can get all the colors. Make sure you don't select both of them. So once you quickly do this, if you notice we have a stripe right about here that's still in there. What we can then do is make a mask to get rid of the stripe. Go into the mask pane and invert it or change it to subtract, whichever you prefer. Our next effect we will use is what we call a matte, the simple choker. What you want to do is, normally you want to raise things. For this you want to make it negative. You'll notice that he starts to get a border around him again. This is what you want. After we do that, you then want to use the key light. This is the more advanced algorithm for green screening. When you select the color, if you notice, it makes it all go away. After this, what you want to do after that is you want to go into change this view mode from final result to screen matte. If you notice, you can still see all this shadowy in where he is. There's black and white. The white is what will be visible, black is what's not, and the gray is in between. Then we go to the screen matte options, and you want to raise the clip black until all the screen is black, and then lower the clip white until he is completely white. If you notice, there's a problem with his jersey, and it's going to be invisible in the middle. How we're going to we'll fix that in a sec, but for now we'll just leave it. Once we have the matte done, you can then again look at the final result. You can change it between a black background and the pattern for alpha. If you notice, there's a weird funky edge going around him. What you want to do next is you actually want to shrink the screen a little bit. Not too much, because you'll start eating away at him. Growing makes it bigger, shrinking, if you notice, will eat away at him. So you want to do that just enough so that the border is completely gone. And then you also might want to pre-blur it a little bit, which can also get rid of that mark in the middle that I was talking about earlier. Let's go check if the mark is still there. The mark is now gone. Okay, after we are finished with key light, we then want to finish up him by changing the lighting on him. To do this, you have to find in these options color correction, brightness and contrast. Typically you want to raise the contrast and color a little bit so that he looks a little bit nicer and the light isn't so harsh on him. So there you go, is our first player done. What makes this really easy is that you can then grab the second one, make one for him. You can then go to the effects for your first person. You can select all your effects. You can then copy them, once again Control C. Then if you go back down here to where it says Tizano, you then go to his effects and paste them. And it should turn out mostly the same. You'll probably have to adjust the brightness and contrast for each individual player based on their skin tone. So there you go. This is how you do your green screening for football headshots. Check out our other tutorials and wait for our upcoming ones.